Have you noticed this trend lately? It's very controversial. Cuticles being very aggressively cut back until there's hardly anything left. Let's talk about that. So I see this everywhere, cutting cuticles. It's actually quite well known as the Russian manicure. They get sort of the blame for it, but yet they can do beautiful work. But let's really talk about what's happening here. Bree is my guest today. Hi, Bree.
Hi.
So Bree has got some natural nails happening here, and we've got some cuticles. Now, I would show you what I would do if I had a set of nails like this. So here's a beautiful natural set of nails. Now, you've been playing, so there's a little bit, you can see a little bit of here. So you can see she's been playing around doing some nails. She's learning how to do nails. So she's been playing. So there's not really hardly any damage here at all. To the trained eye, I can see that she had some nails here, and there's maybe a little bit of residue here. There's no product on these. I can just see how she's filed down. We're here to talk about the cuticles. If I receive this set of nails, and I take a look at the cuticles, I would look at these and I would not cut hardly any of these cuticles back whatsoever. But the trend right now is cutting it all back, which is too much to do. And the reason being is we need some of that proximal nail fold is actually what we're talking about. Let me show you what we're talking about. So whenever I start a first set of nails, I would push the cuticles back ever so gently. Now I'd actually do this with my e-file, but I'm going to show you what I would do if I was to push it back with my cuticle pusher. So I would gently push it back. The reason why we push back the cuticle is because we want to make the surface clean and rid of any oils, organic material whatsoever before we apply the product so we get full adhesion, okay? So that's what we're doing. We're pushing the cuticle back. So the cuticle is this white stuff that we see on the nail. We want to make sure we remove that completely, okay? So that's what my edger here is doing, and I can do that by filing away as well. And I can do this with a cuticle pusher, a metal one or a wooden one, whatever you want. So that's the goal, to remove it off of the nail plate so we can make a clean surface for great adhesion. So now what we're doing is we can see we're pushing back into the proximal nail fold area. And that is this, let me get rid of the white crusty stuff, which is the cuticle bits. Let me just wipe that clean. Let's get rid of the cuticle residue. Now we have exposed this kind of white, clearish, whitish skin that's all the way around here like this, okay? See that lip of extra skin? See that right there? That is a very important protective layer to the rest of your body. We don't want to cut into that, or if we do cut into it, we don't want overly cut into it. So by seeing this little clear edge, sometimes it can be quite a bit. You don't have a lot, Bree. Yours are actually pretty cool. I would not remove hardly any of that at all.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So if you were a customer that came in and said, you really hate that specifically, and you want it gone, I would trim like a hair's much.
Okay. Yeah,
But
don't
you
go
better-
overboard.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing. We're going overboard because when we take it all away, we have no protective layer.
Okay, yeah, that can be dangerous.
Yes. Okay, so here's we get into more of a sticky area. I always reference my favorite nail chemist scientist, Doug Schoon. Now, him and I have talked about this. When you remove that and you do it with the bits that they've got out, which is cool. It's a really, I got to be honest with you, it looks really great.
Yeah.
When you remove it all, you can get the polish so much closer, and there's no little see-through little proximal nail fold that's sort of there if you really zoom in. I mean, most people don't really do that, but right now we're really zooming into that zone. If you remove it all, you can do it with bits and you kind of file it all away and stuff.
Yeah.
So by doing that, though, we remove that protective. And like I say, it does look good because we can get really close. But what are we giving up, really? We're giving up that protective zone that's stopping anything. So what's happening is when we file that away with those bits, it's called microabrasion. Microabrasion is just what it means. Very tiny, tiny, tiny little cuts.
Okay.
So I don't want to say that everybody doing that is doing that. That's a possibility that could happen. And if you're too aggressive with it, you can do it. And I see a lot of red little sore cuticles out there.
Oh, I have seen those.
Yeah, and that's why, because we're just taking too much away. We get a little carried away. We go real extreme, right? So if we can pull back on that and don't cut so much away. So what we want to do is when we see that, it is annoying and it is ugly and you're like, ew, I don't want that. We can trim that away, but we want to, if there's this much of it, let's just trim away a little bit.
Okay.
We don't want to have a ton of it. And we don't want to flap it in the wind or anything because it'll fall over into your gel polish or your nail polish. And it's really gross.
Yeah.
So we want to cut away the dead part,
Okay.
just not the live part.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Doug Schoon says micro abrasion, you're buffing it, your little tiny cuts, and that leaves you open and susceptible and vulnerable to any bacteria. And what we don't want to do is get any bacteria or anything in under there, because if we do, that can lead to an infection of the finger, and that can lead to a serious. We don't want that. No. It's not common, but we want to make it not be common. We want to stop that. So I actually did a video a little while back, and actually I was nipping, and I don't nip much at all in my career over the years. I rarely nipped at all unless there was something flapping in the wind, then I want to get rid of it. But I was doing a video and I had little nippers, and because I don't usually use them that often, it's not really my feel. I don't really get too heavy into that. I just get little nippers and cut it away, and that's it. I'm done with it. But somebody said, you need some new nippers there, Suzie. They're kind of not cutting. And they were right. They're 100% right. So I got some good ones, okay? So I got these little scissors, and these are really great little scissors. I find the scissors are better than the nippers, not in all cases, but in this particular. And I bought these, and I got to be honest with you, these aren't that great. So let me just show you. Quality does make a difference when you're talking your implements, especially sharp and things like that. So we got this little, and I'm going to pull, if you pull her skin like that back a little, it does sort of raise it up a little bit so it's easier to get. Also, too, if you're cutting too close, you're taking a chance of cutting. If you're using a file,
that's true.
A bit, or if you're nipping with scissors, you can take that chance. And if you're really going to do it after the service.
Yeah.
Because if you do it before, then you could get chemicals and stuff in it. So,
that would hurt.
And then again, that holds value of why we want to keep that there. It's protecting. So if I'm saying keep it there and cut after the service, that's a very good point. You want to cut after because you want to keep it there, which is protecting you from getting hurt. So I got these little scissors and I was cutting, and I was seeing other people cutting, and they were doing such a great job. And I thought, oh, wow, they're really doing it. But these were just really disappointing me. So I just gave up on those because I thought they were so terrible. But then I went to, and this is not sponsored whatsoever, a brand that comes across my page, and I've talked to her several times, is Erica's. And she has some really good nippers. And I didn't know it until I bought them. So I bought these ones. They come with a little protective thing on them, but they look identical. I mean, look. They look the same, right? But these are so much better. So let me just poke this up here. And let me just pull your little skin back so we can reveal that little edge. And again, there's not a lot here. We want to take away a very, very little bit. You just want to get the angle right. And you can just look at this. One cut. Look at that. These cut really well. But the idea is make sure you're cutting the dead skin, not getting too deep. So if, like I say, there's a whole bunch, just cut half of it. Leave a nice little edge around there. So let's go to look here now. See, look at it. I've got a nice, there's a little hairline of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's all we want. We just want to leave a little bit there. We could get really picky, but we don't have to do that, because I'll tell you what happens. Watch what happens here. We get a little carried away. We think, oh no, it's so dry and icky looking. But watch what happens. So we work on the nail. Let's say I build the nail. I put it in here. It's all said and done, and then watch the magic. We drop some cuticle oil in there, massage it in. Now we're doing something good for the nail, and that is massaging the oil into the skin and softening it. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we have those hard little cuticle areas in there. It's because we're not using enough oil. And I don't suggest like every 5 minutes, but maybe, once in a while, put some oil on, maybe once a day or at least once a week, right? Okay, so when you look at it now, and let's say we were just finished the service and we did the nail, look.
Looks better already.
Yeah. I mean, just a little bit of oil. We don't have to get that crazy cutting cuticles. Mm-hmm. And remember, cuticles, that proximal nail fold, that extra skin, this goes for feet. True. It goes for anything. Callus, if you're developing a callus on there, it is for a reason. It's protecting you. And that's why we want that little skin there, like even for the bottom of our feet and stuff. If we take too much of that away, it hurts. You get to like baby skin. And so like I was like cutting around the cuticles and just little dry bits. Sometimes you feel them, very rare, like once every couple of years I tend to do it. And then one time I did cut a little too thin and it was sensitive.
Oh, I bet.
It's supposed to protect us. So we want to make sure we have that. Also too, here's the thing. If you are overcutting your cuticles all the time, your cuticle can say, oh, seriously? Okay, I'm coming back at you, and it will come back stronger.
Oh, my gosh.
With more cuticle.
Yeah.
So if you're aggressively cutting back the cuticle, and if you're doing it every month,
too much.
No, yeah. If you're doing it every month, it can be very, very upset, and it will grow back with a vengeance, and you don't want that.
No.
Because what it's doing, it's actually protecting itself, and it's building more callus.
Okay.
So it's coming at you. I had this client for 30 years. And she was getting her nails done about 15, 20 years before I was doing her nails. Okay. And she had them like 2 inches long. She had very long nails and she did gardening. She was a lovely lady, one of my favorite people. But she had the most giant, aggressive cuticles. Like I went from normal cuticles to these really over-aggressively grown cuticles. But back then I didn't know any. I just thought it was her. I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't know anything about it. So one day, talking about it, something she mentioned, she says, oh yes, I cut my cuticles back. And I thought, oh yeah, I didn't know, we weren't trained any of this. This is all stuff that I've learned. So she said she was cutting them back. And I went, oh really, how come? And she goes, oh, because I get so much. But she really didn't have as much. I mean, the cuticle itself, like the skin around the area was swollen, but the cuticle wasn't really that much there because she cut it back every single day.
Oh my goodness.
She was just chopping like crazy. So her hands were getting really upset. Her skin around it was getting quite upset. So the only reason why she was able to cut anything away is because she was so aggressively cutting probably nothing.
Oh no.
And just really disturbing the skin around the cuticle. So she just kind of made it gross. So if you leave it alone and just, anything that's dead or icky there, and you can get like cuticle cream, like a cuticle remover cream, just put that in there, massage the oil in there, and if there's any little excess, just make sure you got yourself some really good scissors. And when you do that, cut through. If you got nippers, cut it, sever it, then pull away.
Okay.
Don't cut it and then pull away because it might still be attached. You might have crappy nippers like I did. So there's a lot to it. But we don't have to overthink it. We don't have to overcut, and we don't have to overthink. The proximal nail fold area is actually a good protective layer. We want to keep some of it. So try to pull back on those little cuticles and don't cut so much back. And if you don't like them, put the oil on. You might find they just disappear. They just need to have a little oil and a little moisture, right? Cute. Okay, well, go ahead and... Actually, we want to do these nails, so I guess that's what we're going to do next.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Okay, well, I hope you guys learned something about the proximal nail fold, and don't overcut them. Be good to them.